Hey guys, Furum here, and today we are going to be testing the Lamborghini Egoista in multiplayer. Now, I won this car a while back and just recently got around to multiplayer tuning it because its upgrades are quite expensive, but I have gotten it to a rank of 1679 as I like to do, and I have a tuning of 1515 and in Pro Kits 5053. The one on acceleration and handling are there from a long time ago when this car first came out in its R&D, and I knew nothing about tuning. Sorry about that. So the Egoista accelerates fairly quickly, not the best, but still above average I would say, enabling it to get to this first turn ahead of the Vulcan, which is right behind me. It drifts quite well around here, enabling me to continue to stay ahead of the Vulcan, but then because of his highly superior speed, he passes me. But you say, no wait a minute, your speed is 304 miles per hour. The Vulcan at this rank is only maybe 5 miles per hour faster. So why is he passing you so quickly? Well, this car unfortunately has a fairly large fake speed modifier. It is only going around 292 miles per hour or so, which is above average for this rank, but not enough to stay ahead of Vulcans and stuff most of the time. But as we will see throughout the video, the Egoista can pull out some pretty clutch wins against some faster and more overpowered cars. This is partially due to its relative ease of driving. It is quite easy to drive in all aspects, and it is not extremely bad at anything. But then again, it doesn't excel at much of anything either. So we've lost to a 1679 Vulcan, but we have beat a Max Pro 1687 M2 Special Edition and a 330 P4, which by the way, I am going to be testing soon in multiplayer. I bought it on a half-off token sale a while back, and so you can certainly expect to see that coming sometime soon. By which I mean between now and sometime in the future. So even though the Egoista does start up faster than the Vulcans because of their superior speed by 15 to 20 miles per hour, they do manage to pass me fairly quickly. That is honestly what is going to happen in almost any car you drive around this rank that goes much slower than 295 to 300 miles per hour. The Vulcans and other cars around this rank like the Aeronera Hycera GT and Cinar 1 are just going to pass you eventually later in the race, unless your acceleration is like really good or something. See, the thing is, that's why the MP425s are still able to do so well around this rank. Even though they go 297 miles per hour, which is still way above average for this rank, but slower than the Vulcans and stuff, their really good acceleration is what allows them to compete very well. And by the way, my MP425 is at a rank of, you guessed it, 1679, and I will hopefully be testing that fairly soon in multiplayer as well. So now let me tell you guys an interesting fact about this car in real life. There is only one in the entire world. That's right, Lamborghini only made one Egoista. So I guess it's safe to say it's definitely one of the rarest cars in the world, and in Asphalt 8 it's extremely rare as well. Because it's not extremely good at anything, not many people wanted to go through the grueling R&D a while back for it, and even though it has been given out in multiplayer events and stuff like that somewhat recently, which is by the way how I got the car, you don't really see it anywhere. Like, I've never seen a single other one in multiplayer. I think that's due to the fact that there are so many cheaper alternatives that are not as difficult to get and not as expensive to upgrade. So yeah, that's why you will practically never see these in multiplayer. So we have made it through the cave the second time unscathed, which is more than I can say for some of my races, but because it is a faster route, it is definitely to my advantage to learn it, and I believe I have learned it pretty well. So we are coming up to the end of the second lap in 4th position, but not too far behind the 3rd place Vulcan, and we did beat 3 other cars as well. Namely, let's see, what were they? An Aeronera Hycera GT, an Aston Martin Vulcan at 1679, and another Aeronera Hycera GT at 1670. The Vulcan and Hycera GT are, I would say, the 2 most popular cars around this rank, mainly because, well, they are really the 2 best cars around this rank, and even at Max Pro, the Hycera GT and Vulcan are the 2 best cars, I believe. The Aeronera Hycera GT is debatable in that case, but the Vulcan is definitely number 1. So we've taken this slightly longer way because the Egoista has maybe slightly below average drifting capabilities, and I did not make it around that first turn well. Something happened to that Aeronera Hycera GT back there. He slowed down right before the ramp. I'm not sure why. Maybe he was wagging or something. But anyhow, that's how I was able to pass him. And throughout the rest of this race, I was able to continue getting further ahead of him, which is kind of surprising since the Air Hysera GTs around this rank are generally quite a bit faster by 15 miles per hour or so. Thankfully, on the second lap, I had driven this car for a little bit and I knew how to take the turn better, and thus I actually hit the inside instead of falling out on the outside. That's one thing that I tend to do a bit in Asphalt 8, I overcorrect, meaning that if one time I go too wide, the next time I tend to go too far toward the inside, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So here we are coming up to the end of the second lap, and we have come in second this time. So let's see what the other cars were in the race. We got beat by a 1690 Air Hysera GT, but we beat a 1695 Lamborghini Asterion and a 1703 Air Hysera GT. I'm starting to think that the Asterion was the one right behind me, and thus he was the one that was not catching up, which would make sense. But then where was the Air Hysera GT? That's what I still can't figure out. So I was able to take the beginning turns fairly well, and the MP48 is ahead because obviously he starts out much faster, and now the Vulcan passes me because he is faster as well. That's the thing about having a car around this rank that has approximately average speed, I would say. The faster cars pass you, and the slower cars stay behind you. Now, while that may seem like an obvious statement, with a car like this one, it seems to be very much half and half. That's why I say this car has average speed for its rank, because half the cars manage to get ahead and half the cars stay behind. In all the races in this video, I voted one lap, mainly because this car's acceleration is its main advantage, and even on a one-lap race, because this car is faster than the MP48 by a good 15 miles per hour, I will still be able to beat them. Now here coming up to the end, I ran out of nitro a good bit. That's why this MP48 was able to stay with me, but even with that, I still managed to come in third ahead of him, but behind a Sin R1 and a Vulcan. The Sin R1 was the 1687 tune, which is Dr. Illusion's tune and is 1505-5555. I prefer it without the acceleration upgrade personally because it gets slightly better matchmaking, but it probably does not make all that much of a difference. So here we have our first race against an Audi R8 e-tron Special Edition, which funnily enough has been greatly decreasing in the amount that I see them at this rank, because I think people realize that frankly they're just not great at this rank. Now here I land on a Vulcan. That's just funny. I laugh every time I watch that clip. So do you think I will be able to stay ahead of him for the rest of this one-lap race on Nevada? Well, we will see. This car's speed, while not being great, is definitely good enough to stay ahead of a lot of the overpowered cars if they make a mistake, and if it's one lap. See, that's another reason why I decided to do one lap in all my races, because it gives the speed cars a lot less time to catch up if they make a mistake. And that Vulcan that I knocked down knew he was not going to be able to catch up because he was so far behind, and honestly I would do the same on a one-lap race when I was so far behind that he did in fact disconnect early on. So in this race we are coming in third, behind the Vulcan who was just right ahead of us, and an R8 e-tron Special Edition in number 1. That's not something you see very often at this rank, honestly, and we did beat an R8 e-tron Special Edition, MP48, BMW M2 Special Edition, and that Vulcan who disconnected. So, even an average car can still be quite good. Here, I knocked down that Vulcan and drifted out of getting knocked down by the Sin R1. At this rank, you really gotta be on your toes, because practically anything can happen at any time, and the faster the car you drive, the greater your reaction speed needs to be, just like in real life. So, as I've said in previous videos, taking turns well is a really big determining factor at this rank in multiplayer in seeing who is going to win the race, because oftentimes you can win faster cars simply by taking the turns better than them. That was the only reason I've been able to stay ahead of this Sin R1 for so long, because he is a good 15 miles per hour faster than me, no joke. But of course, even with taking turns better and stuff, if cars are a lot faster than you, well, they're going to pass you no matter what. Taking turns better than an R8 e-tron isn't going to help you much when you're in a Porsche 959, or any other car below 1200 for that matter. The R8 e-tron Special Editions have practically overrun multiplayer anywhere below rank 1500. Most other cars struggle to compete against them. So if you have a Vulcan or any other car that is overpowered below 1500, it might be best to tune it above 1500 a little bit. Now, an exception to that is the SLK Special Edition, which can still hold its own fairly well between the ranks of 1300 to 1500. Speaking of which, I will be testing the SLK next at a rank of 1390, which is a tune of 0500 and 5050, and I knocked someone down again. That seems to be a good trait of this car, being able to knock down quite easily, so maybe that's one of this car's hidden little good things about it. I don't know, it almost seems like Gameloft in each car puts in something that just makes it better in some little area than the other cars. This probably isn't the case, but it sure seems to be that way in a lot of vehicles, just like the Homage and Camaro, for example, seem to be extra resistant to knockdowns. Has anybody else ever felt that way about any of the cars in the game? Let me know. So as we are coming up to the end of the video now, it's time for me to give my general review of this car. So as I've said earlier in the video, it is a very average car around this rank. Its speed is slightly above average, but nothing about it really stands out. But then again, nothing about it is very bad either. It's just one of those cars that's just kind of and oftentimes comes in around the middle positions of races. So in this race, we are coming in behind a Vulcan, but ahead of an MP425 and a couple other cars. So thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 content, and Asphalt 9 videos too when that game is finally released worldwide. And I will see you later. Goodbye.